Today is the feast of Saint Francis, Saint Anthony of Padua. He didn't start his life as a Franciscan. He started his life as a Augustinian, the same order of Martin Luther. But when the martyrs came back, their bodies from Africa, the first martyrs of the Franciscan order, who had gone to convert the Muslims, a hopeless cause, at least for most Christians, they thought that. He was so impressed that he joined this order. They were beggars, and he, as a priest, was just a brother. He went and did the menial tasks in the monastery of the Franciscans until one day they went to a ordination ceremony with some Franciscans and Dominicans, and there was a mix-up, and no one had prepared a sermon. So they told him, "You go preach, you're a priest." They were shocked, stunned. St. Francis heard about this preacher, and he said, "You teach the brothers about Jesus." And he became a renowned preacher. His tongue and his vocal cords are preserved intact, incorrupt to this day in Padua. He's Portuguese, by the way. Anyway, I want to ask Francis, who is the patron of the lost and found, to help the over 80% of the Catholics in this country to find their faith. He preached to the fish when the people wouldn't listen to him preaching. They were too busy. Francis preached to the birds. Sometimes we need to hear or to see. We need to have this faith renewed, our faith renewed. There are two people who, for me, exemplify the vision that Elijah inspired when he walked by the vocation of the man who was to take his place, Elisha, and he threw his cloak over him, which means, "You're supposed to take my mantle." And Elisha said, "I want to go kiss my mother and father goodbye." Elijah said to him, "What have I done to you? Nothing. Go do what you want." Elisha went home and burnt the oxen yokes. He was a farmer. Slaughtered the cattle that were his livelihood. Used the wood from his instruments to make the fire and feed his people. And then he went and followed Elias. We don't find our vocation always in a conventional way. There were two people who, to me, have found Christ, and for our day and age, speak to me of how to find Christ. One is named Jacques Fesch, F-E-S-H. He is a French prisoner who was a murderer and converted to Christ. And he wrote letters and reflections before he died, waiting to die, and was joyful because of the good things that God had given to him. He discovered, without any presumption, how to see the cross in the way it's meant. Jesus doesn't give us things and wants us to be happy so we can come and thank him. He gives us himself, and at a great cost of himself. The happiness he would have, he sacrifices so we can have eternal happiness. The other person is a young girl named Chara Luz, Clear Light. She was a wonderful girl, popular in school in Italy. And when she was 17, She got bone cancer and died shortly after. But when her mother said, "Do you speak to your classmates about Jesus?" She says, "No, I give them Jesus." And when she was dying, she said, "Ma, I have nothing left, but I still have my heart. And with that, I can still love." Her dying words to his mother were, "Goodbye, be happy. I am happy." We have to find the happiness that eludes so many because they look for earthly happiness and never comes. Happiness is not something that can be grasped at. It only comes when we give ourselves with the gift, as Jesus gave himself at great personal cost to make us eternally happy. Francis, help us to find, to see, to have our glasses back on so we can see the cross as the way to happiness, that we might die to self, and in that death, share Jesus with those around us.